It is March 16th, 2024, and you are listening to Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. Today, of course, we'll be discussing that Mac Jones trade, other NFL free agency news, Grant Williams being dissed by the Boston sports media, and more. Stay tuned. Last Sunday, it finally happened. The Patriots traded away Mac Jones. They gave him to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a pick in the 6th round of the NFL draft, pick number 192. I'm really glad it happened, but it's crazy how much Mac's value has fallen over the past few years. He was drafted by the Patriots in 2021 with the 15th pick in the draft. So to go from being picked in the first round to being traded away for a very late 6th round pick is just insane. But I am glad we got something. I'm sure we'll draft, a kicker or something in that pick, and that'll be worth something. I honestly think this is great for both parties. There was no future for Mac in New England, as I've been saying on this show and on social media. The Patriots just really messed up his development. Obviously, as I've said, as you know, he had 3 offensive coordinators over 3 seasons, and I just don't think the organization was on the same page about him ever. I'm not exactly sure if Bill Belichick even wanted to draft him, or if ownership and management just strongly pushed for Bill to draft him. I'm not sure. And again, it's going to be an interesting story when the details on his drafting and development finally come out, but it'll be a while, I think, before we know any details. I honestly think this is good for Mac to be traded away. I know he probably thought until a few weeks ago he had a chance of being the starter if he just put in the work. But really, after this season, it was over. It was time to move on for everyone. Now Mac gets a season to be the backup to Trevor Lawrence. Maybe 2 seasons if they pick up his option, but I don't think they will. At any rate, it'll be a good season for him to reset and decide what he wants to do with his career. He might be a career backup at this point, I hate to say it, but he might come back. He has a much better chance at having some kind of a comeback elsewhere than he did staying in New England until his rookie contract was up. And for New England, symbolically it ends an era. The late-stage Belichick, Mac Jones era was just a rough ride, and I'm glad it's over. Like many Patriots fans, I have mixed feelings about how Belichick was let go, and if it was the right choice, but I do not have mixed feelings at all about Mac Jones. He had his chance. For a variety of reasons, it did not work out, and it was time to move on. So obviously this week there have been a lot of NFL free agency stories, but probably the biggest one I was following was Calvin Ridley Jr. Now, I had been seeing reports that he was either going to re-sign with Jacksonville or come to New England, and that he preferred Jacksonville but was open to New England. Well, on Thursday, he ended up signing a 4-year contract with the Tennessee Titans, of all teams. And they dropped a lot of money on him. It's a 4-year contract that is worth up to $92 million. That's $92 million. And with $50 million guaranteed. Now, for me, of course, I'm disappointed. I'll start by saying I'm disappointed the Patriots didn't sign him. It would have been great to have a really talented wide receiver on our team. But my biggest takeaway was I need to follow more sports reporters who aren't based in the Boston area, because I really was blindsided by the Titans signing him. And I think most people were, but still, it goes to show that if you're in this feedback loop of thinking, oh, we have a real chance, and then turns out we really didn't, you need to be following some better news sources. So I'll be better in that department for sure. And I think one thing to consider that I've been thinking about and people have been talking about on Patriots Twitter is that probably income tax played a big part in why New England did not have a bigger shot at signing him. Now, obviously, it's no secret that the state of Massachusetts has a pretty high income tax, pretty high taxes in general. It's been nicknamed Taxachusetts. And the Patriots, as a team, don't really give out huge contracts, or at least under the Belichick era, they weren't big spenders. The idea was, okay, sign with New England for a few years. win some championships, or at least do it really well, inflate your value as a player, and then move on somewhere else, move on to another team where you'll make more money and it'll be taxed less. The past few years, the Patriots, of course, have not been that competitive, so it's been kind of like, okay, why would I sign with a team that's not going to pay me a lot, and what I'm being paid will be taxed, and I won't be winning very many games. So the appeal of the New England Patriots is not there right now. And more personally for Calvin Ridley Jr., he has family in North Alabama. So of course he thought, okay, more money on a team that's been doing slightly better than New England in a city close to my family. So for him, it made a lot of sense. I mean, of course, like I said, I'm disappointed we didn't sign him after seeing all those rumors. But in context, his choice makes more sense. And it would have been a really surprising move for a team that's in the very early stages of rebuilding. A free agency signing I do feel good about is two-time Pro Bowler Austin Hooper, a tight end who last played for the Las Vegas Raiders and has experience working with our offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt when they were both in Cleveland for 2 seasons. He is not a flashy signing, it's not like we just signed some big name, but it's a smart move, and any positive addition to our offense is a really good thing in my book. And the fact he's worked with our offensive coordinator is a really positive sign. I know the last time he was a Pro Bowler was almost 5 years ago, but that's something. It has to count for something, and I'm going to be optimistic. My whole theme with this Patriots offseason is optimism. So this is one signing I'm going to feel optimistic about. Now, the Patriots have made multiple free agency signings over the past week, but the last one I'm going to talk about today is Jacoby Brissett, the quarterback who signed a 1-year, $8 million deal with New England. Now, as you may recall, he was actually drafted by the Patriots back in 2016 and played in 3 games and started 2 during Tom Brady's suspension at the start of the 2016 season. And one thing I love about him is he, Brady, and Jimmy Garoppolo were all part of the Wolf Pack, as Tom called it, of that season. And of course, that season ended with the Super Bowl 51 victory against the Falcons, so all the memories with Jacoby are just very positive. So bringing him back is great for the sake of nostalgia, but I also think it's a good move. I am certain Jacoby knows that his role is most likely to start this one season and be the bridge between the 2024 season and the 2025 season when whatever quarterback we draft at number 3 this year takes over. And I think he'll do a perfectly fine job as the bridge. I even think we can do better than last season. I think we can get up to 7, 8, maybe even 9 wins if we play our cards right in free agency and the draft. And I know that's not a very exciting prediction, but compared to 4 wins, it's a huge improvement, especially if we have positive momentum going forward after this coming season. So really, it's about the big picture. You have to keep in mind, we're building for the future. I don't just want to, sign a bunch of players and, win a few more games this year, but have no future afterwards. So it's a process, and I'm excited for it. As long as we're making smart choices, we have reason to be optimistic. I think there's a lot of potential on this coaching staff and even, on our team right now. And soon we'll be drafting some young players who are going to be the building blocks of this new version of the New England Patriots. So I'm excited. I think we've made 2 good moves at quarterback already this week, and the most exciting move is coming up. I really think the draft is going to be a lot of fun to watch, and as long as our organization keeps its eye on the prize, I think we have reason to be excited about our future. But it's all about just keeping the faith and remembering it's about the future. It's not about tomorrow. It's not about even this coming season, really. It's about what we're going to be like for the next 3, 4, 5, up to 10 years. I really want to build for the future and build a solid foundation. I really think Jared Mayo has long-term potential as our coach. We just have to treat our players right and be smart with what we do. Moving on to the Celtics. First of all, last night they defeated the Phoenix Suns 127-112 and officially became the first NBA team this season to clinch a berth to the playoffs, and I think that's awesome. It was inevitable, but it was really exciting to make it official. Now, this week, a story about a former Celtic developed in the Boston sports media. Uh, Celtics radio play-by-play announcer Mike Gorman pretty much went on 98.5 The Sports Hub and said that Grant Williams was really annoying and a bad locker room presence. He said this, quote, "It was annoying to everybody. I think initially everybody thought he was kind of a wise ass, but he's kind of cute and he's kind of funny. Then it just kind of wore thin. It got thin in Dallas, obviously. He had some issues in that area that, if he doesn't get rid of, he doesn't have enough for teams to say, well, okay, but despite that, we're going to keep him here because he's a great player. He's not," unquote. For further context, Grant Williams was recently traded from Dallas to Charlotte. Of course, Mike Gorman saying this created a pretty big stir in the media. It's a pretty heavy accusation to throw at a player that they're annoying and a bad locker room presence, whatever. But Jason Tatum actually responded to a tweet about this story saying, quote, "Grant Williams equal great teammate," unquote. And Jaylen Brown actually retweeted this. Now, I'm covering this not because I think it's that important. Grant Williams is not a Celtic right now. And overall, this is just a play-by-play announcer just saying things to say things, I feel like. But it does reflect to me a positive culture within the Celtics over the past few years. I respect this attitude that they're brothers for life. They had been through multiple playoff runs together, even making it to the 2022 NBA Finals. So I think it reflects really positively on the Celtics culture that they would defend even a former teammate after they were put on blast by the media. And now, a segment I like to call Assorted Awesome, where I talk about something that maybe isn't relevant to pro sports teams as they stand today, but I think is awesome anyway. Now, this story is about Isaiah Thomas, who means a lot to me as a Celtics fan. He became a Celtic back in 2015, right at the trade deadline, and my family that year had moved from New Hampshire to Arkansas, and I was kind of flirting with being an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. At the time, our newfound regional proximity to Oklahoma, my grandparents being from Oklahoma, and Kevin Durant being on that team really made them an intriguing team to me. But that year, I had started reading Boston.com, specifically the sports section, secretly in computer class, and I started reading stories about the Celtics, and when they traded for Isaiah Thomas, I was very intrigued that they had acquired the short, scrappy guy, and pretty soon after he became a Celtic, he started, putting up respectable numbers night after night, and then in subsequent seasons, he was an all-star 2 years in a row, and he even had that great game where he scored so many points after his sister's tragic death. So, Isaiah Thomas is really the reason I became a passionate Celtics fan, because before my family moved to Arkansas, I was a pretty big Patriots and Red Sox fan, and I was a more passive Celtics and Bruins fan. But Isaiah Thomas, his presence on the Celtics, his passion, the way he embraced the city of Boston and the Celtics culture, really ignited a passion in the Celtics that has not been extinguished since. Now, recently, Isaiah has signed a deal with the NBA G League affiliate of the Utah Jazz called the Salt Lake City Stars. Now, if you're not aware, the NBA G League used to be called the NBA Development League. It's basically the minor league for the NBA, and it's only called the G League because Gatorade is their main sponsor. So far, Isaiah has been doing really well. He's been averaging 32 points, 5.7 assists, 3.3 rebounds, and 37.3 minutes of playtime. And I'm really excited for him. I mean, he's just going to be one of my favorite Celtics ever just because of his role in building my passion for the team. I really sincerely hope he gets a chance to play for an NBA team again. Now, I don't know if the Celtics will ever have a role for him again, but I would love if he got a deal with the Celtics. Even if it was just like a half season at the end of his career, it would be cool and it would mean a lot. And I know Isaiah loves Boston. He still does, even though he was traded for Kyrie Irving, and that was kind of a bitter end to his stint with the Celtics. I know he still has a love for us Celtics fans. So if that could ever happen, it would be amazing. If not, I will always be rooting for Isaiah Thomas. I'm a big fan, and I always will be. that is about all I have for this episode of Sports Chowder with Sam Stebbins. You can follow me on X at Stebbins Tweets, that's STEBBINS Tweets, and you can follow the show on X at sports_chowder. You can also follow the show on Instagram at Sports Chowder and like it on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening. Your support means so much. I will return next week with another new episode.